2020 Matric exam marking has resumed this week after hundreds of markers pulled out at the last minute. Here in Gauteng, reasons given by the markers included falling ill, being exposed to someone who tested positive for COVID-19, or fear of exposure. More than 1,000 teachers countrywide have quit marking Matric exam papers, with Gauteng accounting for the bulk at 887. We are now joined by the Provincial Education Department spokesperson, Steve Mabona. Thank you very much, Mr. Mabona, for your time here on eNCA. Now, how are things looking in terms of marking since it's resumed?
Thank you very much, Masego. Look, we are doing very well. We have checked all our centers. We have 30 centers in Gauteng. We have been monitoring since Monday, but we have checked again today. It's all system go. Our markers continues with the marking process. You might have realized that there's about 887, of markers that said they could not join us, but we managed to replace them. We have been saying we have a surplus of markers. When we have a challenge, then we go and interact and make sure that we replace them. So up to so far, we are doing very well.
Now, of course, Gauteng is one of the leading provinces in terms of the infection rate with COVID-19. And with this 887 out of 1,000 markers who pulled out coming out of Gauteng, could this be the reason why people are too fearful to mark for our learners here in this province?
Well, numbers are skyscraping, numbers are very high. So you will then realize that some of the people will be saying we fear to contract the pandemic. So understandably so, we then had to concede and say, let's then replace. But we have, the strictest, conditions in terms of your adherence to our protocols. We encourage social distancing. We have actually educator assistants that are on our venues. They assist to check, social distancing, make sure that we don't have, large groups, especially during breaks, because during breaks and lunchtime, people might converge, want to, interact with each other and all that. So we discourage that at all costs. And we repeatedly interact with our markers to say they must not do that. So up to so far, when we did our monitoring, we have seen that markers, they adhere to protocols, which that is going to assist us. That's why we say we are indebted to them, because if they conform to protocols, then we might not have, the pandemic spreading amongst the markers. So that's what we are doing. And we are actually testing, or screening, 3 times a day, when they arrive during lunchtime and when they go home. The following day we do the same thing, just to make sure that we precautionary, make sure that we don't perpetuate any spreading.
Now, on Monday, the training of these markers began. When is the conclusion of marking of these papers supposed to happen, and are you going to meet that deadline?
We are on course according to the work that has been done. We started actually marking yesterday, because on Monday it was training of our chief markers, Tuesday it was training of our markers, and yesterday we had to also train those new markers that just came, yesterday. But majority of our markers, we have over 12,000 markers. They started to do the work on Wednesday. So up to so far, work continues, and we have been interacting with our centers today. We didn't have any challenges. So according to the program, we are on schedule. We should be done by the 22nd of January.
Now let's talk about school placements in Ntate Mabona. How many of the pupils who applied online for grade 1 and 8 are still needing to be placed at schools?
Well, I don't have the figures offhand, but the last time I checked, we were at about 98%. of those that applied earlier. But you understand that we opened the system on the 22nd of December for the late registration. So we need to make sure that we consolidate those numbers, and we should be in a position to update on how many of the late registration have been placed. Because remember, with the late registration, you apply to one school. If there's space that is available there, we place you automatically. You don't have to wait, to choose a school. So once you apply at a certain school, we place you. So we should be in a position to say how many out of the late registration applications have been placed. But we should be in a position to update in the near future.
All right. Thank you very much for your time here on eNCA. That is Gauteng Education spokesperson Steve Mabona.